Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Total War Warhammer information video. Yep, we're here with another one. This one is all about chaos. Another thing people have been waiting for ages, ever since we got the vampire counts. The vampire counts, the thing people have been drooling, thinking about, has changed from the vampire counts into chaos, the last sort of unknown to be in Total War Warhammer for the first installment anyway. Well, them in Bretonia, but once we've seen lots of chaos, people will probably start going nuts for Bretonia. But before we delve into the tiny bits of information we've been given, really, I just want to make a note that there was some confusion over my faction vote, which there'll be a link to in the description. There was some people thought you had to comment to vote. It's not. In the video, in the top right corner of the video, there should be a little eye in a sort of grey circle. You click on that, and then it's like a drop menu, and you just click on what you want to vote. So I just wanted to clear that up there and now. So if you just left a comment, as one or two people have, that's not voting. That's not counting as voting. You need to go in and click on this. I'm using YouTube poll. It's the first ever time. I don't think I explained it that well last time because I wasn't even sure what it was going to look like myself as I was recording. And I tried to explain in the annotations, but a lot of people have annotations turned off and stuff like that. So there we go, just a quick explanation there of how to actually vote in the faction vote. Link will be in the description. Hop over, vote away. Right. Chaos. The first thing we seen last week, just before I left for EGX Res, was a video of a non-completely 100% unscripted battle between the Empire, which was done by Darren, played by Darren, and the Chaos, which was played by the AI. And this battle was quite a nice battle. It was mainly an eye candy battle. We got to see Chaos for the first time, them in action. They looked beautiful, just like the rest of this game. It is drop dead gorgeous. We got to scroll along, view all their units in close detail. The only thing that I remember going about was the variety of axes on the Chosen. They all had the same axe, but that's probably going to change. We're still early build. And we see they're constantly changing things like that. I remember one of the first complaints people made was about the Empire helmets, and then all of a sudden they completely changed, and then they completely changed again. And so there we go, that was just my only gripe visually, was all the Chosen with great weapons had the same axe, but that is a really tiny gripe compared to how epic everything else looked. The Giant looked beautiful, the Trolls looked beautiful, the Chariots looked beautiful. Oh, it was drop dead. It was drop dead gorgeous. One of the first things I'd like to talk about is I noticed that the Giant had one hell of a lot of health. It had a lot of health. It took a lot of firepower to take it down. I've seen at least 2 rockets smack it in the face, and then it had a couple of units, I think it was handgunners or something, crossbows or something, were pummeling at it, and it was slowed down with a net spell, so it had to stand still and take this punishment for longer. Then it got into combat, and it fought for a wee bit, then it finally broke. So it was basically taking the whole Empire army's firepower until the Chaos got to engage for the Chaos, and then it turned around and ran and got headshotted by the Luminarch of Hysh, basically. But I was fairly impressed. That was one hell of a meaty unit. It basically allowed the Chaos to get in almost unscathed. The barrage from the rockets still took a heavy toll on the Chaos as it slammed down, but this Giant absorbed like the rest of the firepower. Another thing about the Chaos I wanted to talk about is I was quite disappointed with the Hell Cannon in a couple of ways. Well, I wouldn't say disappointed, it's more just, oh well, it's nothing to get upset over. The accuracy of it's abysmal, but apparently it doesn't need to land anywhere near its opponent to actually just do a morale damage, which apparently is the main sort of thing it's good for, is morale damage and taking down walls. So if that is its sort of main effect, I suppose it works with Chaos. The other thing I noticed about the Hell Cannon, I've got a positive coming up about the Hell Cannon, which I was jumping for joy for, but for now we're talking about the negatives to do with the Hell Cannon, was it had no melee abilities really. In the tabletop, I've always, like, what the Hell Cannon is this big huge Chaos Dwarven contraption that has a demon imbued inside it, like a very powerful, very strong demon that is in this cannon alive, and then the Chaos Dwarves use it to fire. And when the Chaos Dwarves aren't firing it, it can like rampage, and I've always viewed it as like a transformer, but it's nothing. It's technically nothing like that. It's just there's a demon inside, and it's actually quite good in close combat. It's like a monstrous creature, sort of like the Ragnarok or the giant itself. It is, the way I've always pictured it in my head is like Transformers. Turns from a cannon into like this metal beast thing, but as I said, that's always just been the way I've pictured it in my head. I just know there's a demon in there and this thing can actually fight in close combat, but we see nothing of that at all. But for a balance perspective and the way CA actually handles artillery, I can understand why. Balance wise, they could just make the thing cost hugely expensive, make it hugely expensive, or give it some very bad debuff, like when it rampages, it like hurts your own men just as much as the enemies and some stuff like that. But I think it's more the artillery side, like how would they handle it being an artillery piece and this monstrous creature at the same time, which will be interesting because the lizard men, when they are actually implemented, they get these salamander things which are basically living artillery pieces. They're not artillery pieces, they're like tiny artillery pieces, so to speak. It'll be like they fire like a load of spines or they breathe flames. It's like a tiny artillery piece, and it's sort of got skinks sort of prodding it around, telling it where to go. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that, because that's got the same sort of feel. It's a monstrous creature and artillery, and it's tiny monstrous creature and artillery. So we'll see with that one. That'll be interesting. But back to Chaos. The thing I absolutely loved about this Hell Cannon, and at first I was really excited over it because it had big implications, but then I realised that those implications might not necessarily be what I think was, that it was actually manned by Chaos Dwarves. Now, they couldn't have it manned by Chaos because Chaos can't use it, it's a Chaos Dwarf thing, but it's manned by Chaos Dwarves! Chaos Dwarves! They're actually in-game in some sort of way! My initial reaction is, they've had to model Chaos Dwarfs, they've had to texture Chaos Dwarfs. That probably means the 16th race is probably going to be Chaos Dwarfs at some point. Huge hype. Then I realised, wait a minute, normal dwarfs are in the game. They can basically just do a reskin and well, they don't need a reskeleton, they can just use the skeleton for normal dwarf artillery crews and just have a reskin. So it's like, that makes too much sense. Hype died. But still really nice to see that Chaos Dwarves are going to be in the game one way or another. Now there's nothing else that hugely jumps out at me for information wise for us to look at this game. We do get a good chance to talk about the AI and look at the AI again. Darren was completely outplayed in this battle. He let his cavalry just get charged. His shock cavalry just got charged by the melee cavalry, and his front line, he just let spells be cast on them, and he was going for the sort of cinematic, zoomed in, making the battle look really nice. He was going for all that sort of stuff, so it's hard to blame him that he mucked up and got a wee bit outmaneuvered, and the AI did a very good job. It sort of absorbed all his firepower with that giant. It sort of did the chaos sort of charge. It outflanked him, it got around behind him and just sort of rolled him up and pushed him aside. it's actually quite hard to tell how well the AI was doing and how bad Darren was playing. Apparently he played it several times and never won. But the thing is that's got me a wee bit sceptical is C probably wants to show us a player getting beat. I'm not normally the sceptical kind of person. As you probably know from watching my videos, I'm normally one of the ones that are very easily pleased. A wee bit eye candy's thrown my way and I'm jumping for joy going, "Ah!" But I remember back to before Rome 2. The very first custom battle we seen for Rome 2 as well, it was played by Al, the Hatman Bickham. And they were going on about how the AI was very good back then too. And the AI had this same sort of thing going on. It was just sort of rolled them up and threw them aside. And it just reminds me of that battle so much. So it's sort of, I think, he did say that the Chaos had more elite troops than him, but he had more. So the armies did sound balanced, but it's hard to talk about. It's hard because I didn't see how much their army cost and how much his army cost. We didn't see things like that. But it's one of those times I'm actually a wee bit sceptical going, see, lost this on purpose to make the AI look good. But I'm not worried about the AI. I've tried the game myself and I've seen the AI was very, very good. It was all over the place. It was getting round me, it was getting flanks in. It was very, very nice. Another positive now though, we did get to see Archon. Archaon. I always call him Archon because that's what I called him when I was growing up. Before I actually found out how to pronounce his name. Archaon, we got to see him for the first time, just as a few passing sort of glimpses. And it was really nice to see him. He cast some spells, he was being a melee beast. He was chasing that poor celestial wizard all around the map. But it was just nice to actually get to see him on the battlefield. Moving on now to the other chaosy thing we got at EGX. The day I got home from EGX, not the day I was at EGX, there was a conference mainly for other game developers or hardcore fans and AI enthusiasts, where they just sort of talked about all their changes to the AI. And I'm not going to sit here and go through them, but because this was a 50-minute long video, but just needless to say, he talked about how they did it before and how they did it now and the new things they've introduced. I really recommend you go watch this 40-minute video if you're really interested in the AI. Just type into YouTube, or I'll leave a link in the description actually. I'll leave a link in the description to the original video. Well, I suppose I'll do it to both anyway, I would, because I've got their footage in the background. But it's things before, like they've got a reserve and how they handle moving those reserves into tactics and how to... It all sounded very good and it looked very good. Then at the end we got to see it all in action, where they just had an AI attacking a city with Chaos AI attacking a city, and it showed you all these things in action we've just been talking about and how the AI goes about it and how it does this. The one thing I will say though is avoid this video if you're just full immersion. You don't care about the AI that much as long as it does something relatively realistic. You're all about immersion, because after watching it you'll start seeing the AI just doing these things and it'll make it seem less human. I'm quite good for stuff like that. I can just forget it. I'll still know it, but I can just forget it when I'm playing the game. But for some people, I know they'll just sit there going, "Oh, I know the AI's doing that because that's its plan. I know it's doing this because of that," and it doesn't really give you a huge upper hand battle wise. It just sort of, you can see it sort of like, "Oh, the AI's doing this," and yeah, I can see because that's how it's programmed to go along there, do that. It's hard to explain. So yeah, that was really nice. It does look like they have improved the AI quite a bit, and it's not just game change mechanics like making the things wider, pathfinding easier. It's the AI itself, how it handles tactics, how it the units interact with each other, how they help, how they go from doing one thing to another, all seems to be improved quite drastically, mainly because of the way the reserves works, and it handles going between the reserves and the tactics, and how it can now analyse and go, oh, this has already been done by the player, or this has already been done by the other AI, and how can I use that to my success? And it's constantly recalculating like the odds and times to do stuff and going, right, I think this is my best option. So it does sound really, really good, the improvements they have made to the AI on the technical side of things. Then seeing it in action at the end, the AI had a quite good army. It had some hell cannons which it used to batter down the walls, and it kept units around them to keep them safe, and some cavalry on its flanks, and some infantry underneath it to stop any sally forths to try and take it out. Then it pummeled the walls, and then it took advantage of the walls being lost. Then it had its siege towers and its support, and it was going over for attack over in this area as well. It was all very, very well coordinated. It was all quite realistic as well. It was quite nice. And then you've seen some of these tactics interacting with each other and helping each other and doing things. So that was really, really, really nice. And it does look very promising for the AI. It is definitely looking like it's going to be a step forward for the CGI from the perspective of this video. The actual battle AI does look like it's a huge step forward too. So, hope you have all enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.